Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of Fresh Off the Set. I'm Brooke Mangum.
And I'm Jennifer Stalin. Thanks for joining us.
Let's go on a trip, shall we?
Oh, let's go.
I know you love to travel.
I'm in an airport constantly.
Oh, so as somebody that frequents the airport like you do, you get to see all the different types of airport behavior. Because there's no rules in an airport. You can do whatever you want.
No
Drink
rules.
at 9 a.m. That's fine. You don't have a problem.
Casual.
You're traveling. You're on vacation, right?
Oh, yeah. No rules apply. You can wear whatever you want. People are disgusting when they don't wear shoes, which is so gross. And I swear, at the airport, you need lanes. You need the fast lane. You need the slow lane. Like, when I'm in a hurry, I might be missing my flight. You know, I'm a lounge person, and I like to wait until we're boarding in the lounge.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit, because we've got a guest that is going to be breaking down how to become a better traveler. But before we do that and introduce him, let's unburden ourselves a little bit here. What are some of your biggest travel pet peeves?
Oh, I just hate when people are walking slow in the middle of the lane or in the opposite direction. It's like, you got to stay on the right side of the road.
On the people mover things,
oh my
too.
gosh,
when
it's
they take
awful.
up the whole thing, I go crazy. And
It's the worst.
And I guys, I'm mean. I'll go through and I'm very dramatic as I pass. I'm like, and I make an elbow or hit a bag hit.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, excuse me, trying to say it loud and be polite.
I hate me too at the airport, okay? Let me just say, I turn into a Karen as soon as I get there.
Well, and now what's even worse is when the plane lands in the overhead bin when I'm trying to get my bag, but the people in the back are rushing me.
Yes.
And I'm small. I'm 5'1". I'm probably stepping on the seat to get that bag. So if you're right there, I'm just going to hit you.
I'm honestly surprised you can reach.
Yeah, I know, me too.
That's when I go, oh, my bag is so heavy. Is there a big, strong man to help me?
Oh, yeah. Well, that too. I've had a 70-pound bag, 15-minute round, and no one has helped me.
Yeah, see? Come on now. Okay.
I'm like, is chivalry dead?
See,
it feels like
it is at the airport.
It is. No rules apply.
But I think if we learned anything today, is that we could all be a better traveler. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
So our guest today, Brandon, is going to be teaching us how to be a better traveler. He's a best-selling travel author. So let's take a listen.
Brandon Blewett, I am so excited to chat with you. Thank you for sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. Before we dive into everything, tell us a little bit about who you are and some of your background.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that. So Brandon Blewett, I wrote the book, How to Avoid Strangers on Airplanes. And I know the title sounds a bit curmudgeon-y, but it actually is it's a play on words. And it comes from spending 15 years as a weekly business traveler. Airports have largely been my second office, if not my primary residence. So, in my day job, I spend a lot of times evaluating people, situations. I'm in M&A, so we're constantly looking for businesses to partner with and acquire. And it turns out that airports may be a better case study in how to evaluate behavior than actually doing that in the professional world.
You've done a lot of traveling, so you can speak to this. And you know what? We see a lot of airport behavior on social media and, people getting kicked off planes and things happening. Why do you think travel situations bring out some of the worst or the most revealing versions of ourselves?
In my opinion, travel strips away your buffer. And, oftentimes people are tired, you're off schedule, you're slightly uncomfortable because if it's summertime, they're blasting the AC, so you're cold. If it's winter, you've got your coat because you're trying to get as much on you so you don't have to check a bag. And then, the heat's, full blast. And I think when all of those elements create chaos, sometimes the worst versions of ourselves just tend to show up.
Yeah, that's so true. And you might be hangry. That's going to add to it.
Yes.
You didn't get food in time. You're running late. So
always keep snacks on you. That's a key thing for me since I was 3 till age 43.
Keep those snacks. Oh, that's key. I have a daughter, so we definitely keep snacks with us just in case. You never know when the sandwich shop is going to close.
Exactly.
And you're running there.
And you don't want to spend $18 on M&Ms, right?
Right. You just don't want to. Okay, so Brandon, you frame certain annoying traveler behaviors as issues of self-regulation. What does that actually mean in everyday terms?
To me, it's the ability to not act on your full first impulse, right? Like there are times when I get to the airport and I have a call I need to take. And what I want to do is speak loudly so I'm not having to repeat myself. But the other people either in the gate area or on the plane don't necessarily want to hear that conversation. Similarly, when the seatbelt sign goes off, when your plane gets into the gate, I totally understand the need or the desire rather to stand up, stretch your legs. But that doesn't mean that if you're in row 18, you can go ahead and plant your bag in the aisle and try to beat everybody else off the plane, because there's inevitably going to be someone in row 12 or 13, their bag's in row 20, and you're delaying that whole process.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Okay. And you mentioned after 15 years of weekly business travel, what patterns started to stand out to you, like most clearly about human behavior in airports and airplanes both?
I was able to whittle in the book, I have the 6 habits of highly annoying travelers, and I was actually able to whittle it down to 6 because the same characters show up every flight, right? There's gate lice, the people that, just storm the boarding area, even if they're in group 9, the eager exiter, which I mentioned, where it's the person that's got their bag in the aisle just as the seatbelt sign is going off.
The eager exiter, I like that.
The backpack wrecking crew, the person that all their spatial awareness is just, completely gone by the time they get through the TSA, scanner, and they're, walking through the plane, swinging around with a backpack to say hello to the person next to them. And then I'm an aisle seat guy, so I get a black eye, and, have fun explaining that to HR when you get to work, after your flight.
Why do you think stress and fatigue so quickly overrides our basic social awareness in travel settings?
To me, fatigue shrinks patience and perspective. And I think one perspective that people need to have when we're traveling is we're all in this together, and fatigue very easily takes us from that mental state to main character energy, where it's just everybody's in my way, right? And so to me, if you can avoid that fatigue and feeling overly tired because of things that are in your control, that goes a long way.
Yeah. So true. Okay. And you connect fitness to patience and emotional control. What's the relationship between physical discipline and behavioral discipline on the road?
I think it's twofold. One, just the biological effect of, fitness. If I go work out in the morning before a flight, I feel on top of the world. I've, gone through my routine, your endorphins are released. You're just in a good mood, and things are going to be, a bit funnier when you see these odd behaviors, transpiring in front of you at the airport or on the plane. But to me, the other piece is psychological, and that, fitness is one of the few things that trains discomfort on purpose. So, if you can handle that, in the gym or on walks or on runs, you're more likely to be able to handle a delayed boarding group or, a delayed flight. And I think a lot of that's because there's that delayed gratification that's built into fitness, that it's not, I'm just going to get there, with one workout or with one healthy meal. And I think so it's that biological piece, but also, the psychological piece as well.
That's so true. I mean, I think like when you're working out, you're charging your battery, and it just lasts a little bit longer, and you have the patience to deal with things that are out of your control. It's a really good point, because those things are completely out of your control. A lot of it.
I call it a fuel source. It's and one of the stories in the book was a couple that had just gone out on the town in Key West, had drained their battery completely. And it was very apparent by the way they just reacted to a series of delays. And, I'd hydrated and, gone to the gym and, got sleep the night before. And I found them very entertaining. And to me, it's just a very different mental state in the way we interacted with the gate agent. I got a lot more help getting to my destination despite the storms, as opposed to, them because of how they acted.
Sure. Yeah, there's that part too. How does neglecting movement or routine show up later in a person's tone, choices, or interactions while traveling? How does it show up later?
To me, it compounds. So if I skip my routine in the morning, I get a little agitated. Hangry is such a great word. My mom used that on us when we were kids, and it's still true to this day. My team can tell if I have not had coffee, gone to the gym, and eaten. And so to me, when you skip your routine in the morning, by 3 p.m., it's a little bit easier to snap, and it shows up in, shorter tone, worse decisions, and ultimately, zero patience, which is a recipe for disaster when you're in a very confined space surrounded by, people that 95% of them are complete strangers.
Yeah. Very, very good point. I think that's like normal in like your everyday life, what those things are going to add up to you not feeling well and reacting, but then you add all in these pressures in an airport and, sitting on a plane, that's just even more you're adding to your plate. Okay. What does it look like when someone has emotional margin, and how can you tell when someone's running without it?
To me, emotional margin is this buffer between stimulus and reaction. I'm not going to say that, just because I wrote this book or I travel all the time, that there aren't times when, I would love to partake in the activity that is viral, right, on the internet. But I think when you have that margin, you can absorb the negative impacts, whether that's delays or, someone, knocking your bag in your face. Instead of, getting up and making a scene, it's just kind of making a face at the flight attendant. He or she will probably laugh, and then, hey, maybe you get a drink out of it, right? Once you're up in the air. And to me, it's something that you can spot it because it really reveals itself when someone faces some type of inconvenience. To me, that's when you start to see it. And if you're on a flight where there's a delay and you hear the gate agent talk about, hey, we know that a lot of you have connections, that's where I'd start to be like, okay, who do I look around, make sure that, I'm not around this person, they might detonate. And I don't want to be in the background of any videos that do go viral, even though I watch them all.
It's hard to look away from those. I have a question for you too. Are you an early person? Since you've traveled so much, do you like to show up early, or are you kind of like, I'm going to spend as much time as I can at home and get right through security into the gate?
It's a bit of a hybrid. There have been way too many flights where I had a meeting run late. You're trying to return the rental car, and you're at Chicago O'Hare sprinting through the airport like you're, in the B cast of Home Alone.
Yes.
And then it's 20 degrees outside, but now I'm sweating on the plane because I was running a suit, right? I don't like to get in those situations. But I also don't like to spend an unnecessary amount of time at the airport, just given how much I fly. So what I try to do, and I think this is just a good, way to look at it, I will generally gauge traffic patterns to the airport. I'll look at, hey, so many of the apps now, it's like, if you're going to be driving or commuting at this time, this is how long it's going to take. So, sketch that out. Then most airports now have TSA wait times. You can look at, say, the day before, the time you're going to fly, see how long the wait times are. It'll generally be about the same. Okay. That's
good to know.
That's another thing that you can factor in, right? And then if you're parking, reserve your parking ahead of time, understand the shuttle commute, to get from the garage if it's offsite, to, the terminal. Do the math. That'll give you a rough, aggregate of the amount of time it's going to take you to get from your door, through security. And then depending on your comfort level, maneuvering airports, add 15, 30 minutes, an hour. I'm probably going to do it just to that basic aggregator because, again, I don't like to spend a whole lot of time at the actual airport. But I think there's ways that we can eliminate some of that feeling that we're out of control if we just prepare a little bit more.
Oh, that's really great advice. A lot you can do beforehand and looking at TSA wait lines and stuff. That's really good to know. Thank you for that advice. Okay. And Brandon, airports are often, like we mentioned, high pressure environments. What specific moments tend to trigger people into inconsiderate behavior? Like, what have you seen the most triggering for people?
It's like all of them. No, I think there's 3 or 4 that probably stand out the most. I think going through security is one, especially when someone's bag gets pulled. I totally get it. It's your personal item. Someone's rummaging through them in front of lots of people. I think that gets people riled up. But I'd say that where I see the most negative interactions between passengers have to do with boarding. And I think that's tied to overhead bin space, because I think a lot of people are really antsy to get on the plane because they want to make sure that their bag also makes it and then it's not checked, right? And so that process, you've got all these people funneling through one door, to me creates a lot of bad behavior. And then, as I alluded to earlier with the eager exiter, as you're trying to get off the plane, to me, again, it's not dissimilar from when you're exiting a concert, right? Or you're pulling out of a high traffic area after a major event. You can't just block the exit, and moving faster and getting in queue sooner is probably not going to work, because there's sort of a natural flow to all of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. It's like leaving a concert. There's traffic. You can't go anywhere. It's going to be be a minute. Of the common travel habits. Yes. Of the common travel habits you've observed, which ones are most misunderstood, would you say, or unfairly normalized?
I'd say the most unfairly normalized is talking on your phone, like on speaker and in public. I just think, conversations between two people are meant to be had between two people. I have seen a lot of airlines go to, what they call it quiet cabin policies, that if you have your headphones on, you can be on the phone, so long as the plane's at the gate. But this notion that we all need to be able to hear everybody else's, conversations, I think is it's very odd to me that that's become so normal so quickly.
Yeah, can we all be on the same page with that? That'd be great.
Yeah.
I just think it's respectful.
Yeah.
Yes. How much of being a considerate traveler, speaking of that, is actually about preparation before the trip rather than behavior during it?
I think preparation has got to be, I'm going to use math here, even though this is not scientific, 80% of it. Because to me, if you're not stressed about the time it's going to take you to get to the airport, the time it's going to take you to get through security, to get to your gate, you've alleviated 80% of the pressure. You're not going to miss your flight, right? So some of the other chaotic things that happen where there's a cart that just stops, in the middle of the concourse as you're walking, someone's, running through trying to catch their flight and is in your way. Those things are probably not going to be as disruptive to you as a person when you're not concerned about making it on the plane.
Okay, that's a good point. And you mentioned that discipline in one area of life leaks into others. Can you explain how that shows up in like real world behavior?
To me, it's not just the airport. It's, if someone's going to cut corners and small things, they're going to do it everywhere, right? And you don't just become disciplined when you're put in high pressure situations. Like, you have to build that discipline on a regular basis. So, to me, travel isn't something that tests it. It just really exposes the pattern that we've created for ourselves in our daily lives.
So true. So true. Okay, you've traveled a lot. What are some signs, some subtle signs that someone is starting to maybe lose their patience a little bit or some self-control that may be obvious or not obvious to others, but like you've traveled so much so you notice it?
I think the first thing that I see people start to do is, instead of asking questions, they start with directives and commands, especially towards, say, a gate agent or, someone at a customer service agent desk. Instead of being like, hey, can you help me? It's, you've done this. The airline's done this. That's generally the first cue that, okay, they're not looking for a solution, right? They're about to, blow their gasket. The other thing that I'll see is very, very short answers, or, we're all in confined spaces. We're sharing armrests, someone just kind of gripping, very, very tightly. That's generally a sign. And then when there's certain small things that, in any other situation, you would just, no problem. When people start to overreact to those things, like, oh, you brushed my leg, even though we're in a seat that's, made for someone the size of a toddler. You brushed my leg. Like, how dare you? You're like, okay, this person is probably bordering on being upset. And it's, in my opinion, just generally best to try to diffuse the situation and, stay to yourself so that, again, you don't wind up on YouTube for the wrong reason.
Yes, that's the goal. Absolutely. Okay, Brandon, maybe one shift. Can you give us one shift that would immediately improve the experience of air travel for everyone if more people adopted it?
I think that if people were just aware of the space that we were taking up, both physically and mentally in the airport, that alone would solve 70% of this, right? Think about the behaviors that you would not want to see others to see in yourself and don't commit them. I think if all of us took that approach, air travel would be much better overnight.
Ah, that's so true. I love that. And then obviously what we can control is ourselves, make sure we're getting our sleep, we're eating our breakfast before a flight, taking snacks, doing all the things to help us be able to deal with things a little bit better. Is there anything else you want to mention that we didn't cover?
I think the only thing that other piece that I would mention is, be kind to the crew. They're not creating the storms. They're not creating the maintenance delays. And there have been so many times where I approached, whether it was a gate agent, a flight attendant, a pilot, and, I made a joke like, hey, you must be having a really good day, right? If there's, a massive amount of delays that are going on. And if you're creative and approach the situation with humor, they have a lot of control behind the desk, right? And so if you're willing to show, I'm willing to like do some work here, and you're friendly and you're appreciative, that's going to go a long way. I've never seen anybody make a situation better by being disrespectful to a crew member.
It's so true. My mom was a gate agent for years. In fact, she retired in the airline industry, and that's the biggest thing is just be nice,
Yeah.
and it's actually really easy to be nice to everyone. So I love that advice. Just be nice and be kind. Everyone's just doing our best. Brandon, where can we follow you for more?
My website is brandonblewett.com, and I'm also on Instagram, Brandon in the Air. That's the same, is it moniker handle on X. And then I have a YouTube channel. It's Brandon_N_the_air. Lots of underscores on that one. Someone had already taken the original.
You got that one. That's enough. I love it. Okay, Brandon, thank you so much for this info and this insight. And we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And thank you for listening to another episode of Fresh Off the Set. Please rate, review, and subscribe. And we will see you next week. Congrats, you made it to the end. If you want to continue to freshen up your day, you can watch us on Fresh Living every weekday on CBS Channel 2 in Utah at 1 o'clock. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel, KUTV Fresh Living, and follow us on social media. We will see you next week.